Hey guys, in this video let's add a new GitHub project and where I will try to list down my plan of action of approaching API test automation using rest assured and a decoupled test design. So first and foremost, let's go to GitHub. You can go to your project, you can click on the projects tab, and then you can click on new project. When you click on new project, you can give it a name. So I'm going to call it as REST Pro because the goal is to teach how we can test REST APIs like a professional, right? So REST Pro. You have multiple options to choose. You can choose table, board, or roadmap. You have you don't have to essentially lock into one. You can always switch between them even during the project, so it's not a problem. You can choose table, board, roadmap, doesn't matter. So for now, I'll let it be table and let's create a project. Once you create a project, you will see you have multiple views that you can see here. Views are very powerful, but before we talk about them, let's just add some items. So first and foremost, what I want to do is I want to basically create a GitHub project, which is basically this item, and then you can choose things like assignees. So depending on which project you choose, you can have multiple users to assign. You can have multiple fields. For example, what is the status? Is it in to do, in progress, or done? And then you can add more custom fields. But for now, let's just add our approach here. So create a GitHub project, and then what I want to do is I want to create a GitHub repository. Once I create a GitHub repository, I want to basically clone project 0, which contains basically all our contains core components, core components for an automation project. And then basically what I want to do is change the remote to project REST Pro, which is what I want to do for API automation. Add dependencies, add REST assured dependencies. Write some, first of all, identify a test API to use for demo purposes. Once you identify a test API, then write some basic REST assured tests. And once we have wrote some basic REST assured test, then refactor these tests, refactor these tests as per decouple test design that that I showed in the first video. Or maybe I can just remove this. And then refactor this test as per decouple test design. And from that moment onwards, refactor and from that moment onwards, iterate and add more features and functionality to make our framework more powerful, right? So this is like how our approach is going to be, and this is how you can create any sort of project. So I think this video will stay in both the playlist for API automation, but I think this is also a common core concept which I will also add to project 0, right? And once you have added all this list items, what you can also do is you can add some custom fields. So for example, if you click on this button, it gives an option to add new fields. It also tells you like which fields are visible, which are available. So for example, if you want to show linked pull request, you can do that. If you want to show the name of repository or milestone, labels, reviewers, you can add all that information. And if you want, you can also add some custom fields. For example, if you click here, you can click on a new field, and then you can define what kind of field you want to add here. So for example, if you want to add a field like I don't know, like maybe stage, and where you can say this field contains single select values, then you can give values here. So for example, you can say design, or you can say I don't know, build or test, if it makes any sense. You can add whatever field you want to add here. And not only that, you can also add some colors to it. So for example, you can say design looks blue, build looks green, and test looks, for example, yellow, right? So it is possible to add multiple fields, and you can also sort based on multiple views. A view which is sort based on milestone, a view which is sort based on repository, a view which is sorted based upon let's say status, right? So for example, if you create a new view, you can say this view will group values based on status. At this moment, there is no status information in both the views, so it looks the same. But for example, if I give status as create a GitHub project, if I say done, then maybe a GitHub repository is to do, then you have now status view is available. And if you go to now view 2, you can actually see that based on status you can have tasks prioritized. Pretty useful, right? Like especially in terms of not only just status, but you can also have custom fields like things like priorities, and then it's very useful. So for example, if I add a new field and if I call it priority, and if I give it as a single select value, and if I give it as high, medium, and low, then I think it makes sense that you have things like high, medium, and low. So this can actually help us sort things based also on priority. So let's say if I call things as let me also move these fields. Let me drag and pull it here. So let's put the priority closer, and let's say if I call this as high priority item, this is also high priority item. For some reason, if I call this as a medium priority, then you can have another view which is sorted based on and if I group based on priority, then you can have a different view based on what you want to pick first and what you want to pick next. And let's also rename this view, add it, and let's rename this view as priority. Let's rename this view based on status, and let's rename this view as, for example, our product backlog, right? So as you can see, instead of trying to have different filters like you would do in an Excel and then trying to filter it based on different things, you actually have ready-made filters available to you that you can use to see, hey, which tasks are in progress, which tasks are in to do, which are done, which are high priority tasks which you should plan next, and which are the tasks that you can plan later. So yeah, that was like a quick overview about how to create a GitHub project. This is our plan of action that we're going to follow in creating our series about REST API automation. And then in the next videos, we'll start picking this task one by one, and we'll start creating more videos on those topics. So that's it. Thank you. Bye-bye.